the stone, completely reset the temporal flow, everything, and he got away with it, and he wore a tunic.
And the thing about it is, he turned into Jack Harness, who turned into freaking Denim Boo. How do you explain that?
It's an impossible thing.
You sit there and say, it's a timey-wimey.
Timey-wimey. People say that time is a linear progression, but it's more like a big ball of wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey stuff.
Okay, let's put this in perspective of what we're talking about. Okay, here is what we're going to talk about. When we are talking about time fluctuation and time paradoxes, we are talking about the Doctor going in time through his own timeline that we actually see some of. The thing about it, that's not funny. Then he goes, and what does he do? He shows up in the future when we're already into space travel. Ooh! Now, guess what he shows up as? My name's Q. Fuck you. How do you explain that one? And then you decide to say, ooh, we're going to introduce them to the Borg. Guess who the Borg are? We say they're the Borg. What do you call them?
Why don't you go ahead and tell people what I call them? You know what I call them.
Name a character in Doctor Who's timeline that is a machine that literally replicates. Cyberman. Thank you! And guess what happens? Oh, we introduce them as the Borg. Does this guy ever correct us? No. Instead, he's like, let's go to this parallel dimension. And then let's come back with them.
The whole thing is the universe is meant to be explored. If you don't spend your entire life going out there and doing what makes you happy and gallivanting and buggering off and breaking rule number 2, what's life for? Or the second life? Or the third one? Or the fourth one?
Or the 12th?
Or the fifth one?
All I gotta say is Jack Harnett.
Jack Harnett.
That's why you don't. That's why you don't. You don't have the luck of Jack Harnett.
Jack Harkness was not my invention.
He wasn't your invention. He just showed up saying, help me.
It was Rose Tyler's fault. She swallowed the time vortex.
Yeah, and then look what you did to Rose Tyler. But look at this. When you did that to Rose Tyler,
I told her
it delete Jack Harkness. No, he's still freaking there. What do we have to do? We have to neuralize her permanently. Okay. Now guess what? She's with Jack as the freaking blonde. She don't even remember her name is Rose.
Well, I have you know, I've seen a lot of terrible things. I have loved people and lost them. And I have watched Jack Harkness grow from this cute, God he was cute, young time agent into a giant head in a jar and die. Do you think I enjoy these things?
We didn't need to know that. You know for a fact he's working with us for Warehouse 13, right?
At this moment in your timeline.
And we're going to end up putting the TARDIS in Warehouse 13.
No!
See, unfortunately, human beings think that Warehouse 13 is all ancient magical artifacts. The thing about it is they're all alien artifacts. The thing about it is we don't know how they work. So what do? We just stock them away until we find out.
Well, that's me. Let's fuck up.
How long did it take for us to get you?
About the same length of time it took me to lose my eyebrows.
If you want to know how we captured the Doctor, we got a hold of his TARDIS while he was out of it. And we miniaturized it to the size of a keychain.
It's in a cupcake.
Now, here's the thing about that. He can stick his finger in it. That's about as far as it goes.
It's so little.
And if you keep messing with us, we're going to turn it back into a bicycle for you and let you ride it like that so you look like Nanya. Now, do you want a bicycle again?
I want you to turn my TARDIS back to regular size so I can break the rule number 2, bugger off, go save the galaxy and your butt again 7 times before you know it's breakfast time. Really?
At least we fix our mistakes.
Okay. As a personal rule, when there are fixed points in history, you know this is undisputable fact that you cannot change certain things. while I change everything else around that certain thing, without changing that certain thing, I can't go back to that certain thing and change these other things again, because I've already changed them once and I can't go back and change them. Do you know why I can't change them? Because time is not linear, it is a big ball of...
It is still logic. You still have to use science to operate. One of the reasons why you can't seem to get your chameleon chip to work anymore.
The chameleon circuit is very interesting. You see...
Yeah, it's interesting because, guess what? Now it's a cupcake.
Here's what I don't understand. I can take it anywhere in space and time. I can't change its appearance, but you can shrink it down to the size of a bite-sized, delicious, scrumptious little snack that someone can poop that later. Why can't I do these things, but you can? I'll tell you why. Because you have spent your entire life learning about me and how to stop me, while I have been going around doing things that are actually important. You know, like saving the human race.
Back, and I mean way back, when you were the first doctor. How do you think aliens found us? Car driving through town. Just sort of pops up one moment, gone the next. You remember that?
Yep.
You remember you bringing 2 of them there. They weren't human.
Okay. Through the course of
If anybody doesn't know about the first and second doctor, they did not have human assistants.
Well, they did. Well,
they did one time.
Jamie! Human assistant, by your standard, meaning the first 2 lives that they saw. And you think you know that these are my first 2 lives because...
And you actually thought that the thing, we were ruled by the freaking sea creatures of dolphins and whales because of the freaking songs they were singing.
They seem like the dominant species.
Oh. We were trying to save the whales. We were trying to save the dolphins. What does he think? They're ruling.
Okay, you come to a strange planet and you hear humans making the sounds that come out of your mouth, and then you hear the dolphins going, that sounds way smarter than half the babble that comes out of you.
Versus, we actually do the science thing of trying to establish what is going on. Versus, you sit there saying, ooh, it's just a tiny wimey boop pop.
Timey, wimey stuff. I don't recall saying boop pop. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you a question. How, and this could be something that you think is fictional, probably isn't. How many people do you know that time travel? Just anybody can name one. Let us know. Raise your hand. Anybody know one time traveler aside from me? Yes.
Bill Nye.
Bill Nye the Science Guy. No, fantastic bow tie. Yes.
Dr. Emmett Brown.
Yes.
Ah, thank you. Another guy we had to neuralize after the fact. Why? Because he went back all the way to the west. Guess what happened to the nice little time machine he had? Freaking Spaniards found it. Of all things. They tried to back into the whole Spanish Inquisition. Where do you think that came from? Dude. Luckily, this guy stopped them before it went too far. The thing about it is, it still went that far.
Doc Brown did not understand that in order to go back in time, you can't change a thing.
He didn't disable the thing. No. If he had disabled it, instead of sitting there, oh, I'm just going to put a bunch of brush on it. And then, above and beyond that, now you got to think, this is before he was even Q. What does he do? Oh, Star Trek Enterprise. Ooh, black hole. Woo. Okay, why are we here? Let's do it again. Woo.
Any other time travelers that you know of? Yes?
Technically, that's my part.
Yes, until I disabilized his vortex manipulator, then he just grew old, progressively slow. We've already talked about Jack Hawkins. I don't want to talk about him.
Yeah, let's just ignore him right now. We're still under contract.
Stuart Griffin.
Why?
Ruined the multiverse.
Twice.
Okay.
There you go.
The only time ever in all of freaking history where Men in Black had to help Doctor Who. That's just wrong. And we're trying to capture the freaking guy, but no. What does he do? He dang mixes up so bad that even the doctor can't fix it, and we have to work together to dang fix it.
That's true.
That was messed
The problem we keep coming up to is that people are going back on their own personal timeline.
Yes.
Professor Fry and Bender.
Oh.
They went so far forward that they actually reset the Big Bang and did it again. And instead of the universe being here, it was here.
And here's the problem. The technology that he got and he found and this, that, and the other was from a broken TARDIS in the first place from a prior Time Lord.
I remember being in that time.
Was you?
No, it was our fourth incarnation.
Oh, wow.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, you still got that galaxy in your pocket?
Paradox.
Oh, you remember Men in Black then, right? The nice little galaxy in his pocket thing?
It's in my phone.
You actually miniaturized it that quick.
Oh, yeah. Why not? What, you never been bored? I sonic a screwdriver.
We've got a galaxy we've got a huge galaxy in a freaking footlocker. Like, no, you got to go up one entire thing.
For all of your infinite wisdom in the Men in Black and all the things you think you know, you didn't even know that the galaxy in Orion's belt was a little ball around a cat's neck. How can we trust the fate of your kind in your hands?
Even worse is the fact, man, if you remember this, you went to another planet that was in the middle of war and said, I can't get involved. What do? You dug up obliterate both sides.
What?
By accident, granted.
I went back later.
Yeah.
I did fix it. I broke it, then I fixed it. That's why I have a screwdriver, not a gun.
Yeah.
Not a gun.
Have you seen, okay, all I gotta say is Weeping Angel. We've got a gun for a reason.
Touché. Okay.
Dialects have guns, and guess what? You still didn't beat them either. Scotty screwdriver.
I'm the doctor, and I'm not supposed to be afraid of anything, and I'm supposed to always be the face of bravery. Weeping angels are scary.
Okay, you're scared of something like that. But yet the same is that you're not scared of the first thing that goes and implants itself in the middle of Manhattan, almost covers the whole sewer line, and is just trying to eat and duplicate every single mannequin. And you're not scared of that.
That's your job.
We were almost there.
I go, I break things, I fix them. You try to fix
The
other
last in
people's
a
mistakes.
race, and you wanted to let him save it, and you didn't.
I could not. And here's why. Fixed point in history. So something.
Neuralizer. You could have used it.
You can make them forget that I won.
Well, yeah, but in the same instance, we could have made him forget, and then from there, he wouldn't even know. And then we just take him to another planet, he knows about it.
Time travelers. Anybody else know one?
Mr. Marty McFly.
Oh, good one. I'm going to go in my own timeline. Almost get the whole world destroyed. Why? I'm going to touch myself.
Are you recording this? Marty McFly, you're watching. No more fruit punch to poor Ben.
Freaking man.
Use.
So if time travel's such a bad thing, how do you explain HBA?
That, as you know, he never told anyone. Kay kept quiet even to his own partner, because he knew he could not say a word without changing it. And here's the problem. If you remember, in that timeline, he disabled him, he did not kill him. So when it came back around and he killed him, what would happen if we were on our same timeline? Paradox of the yin-yang, yeah, all that.
There's a simple way to prevent paradox, and it's just not go back on your own timeline.
The only reason we can do that is timeline number 1, timeline point number 2, Steins Gate.
Are you guys aware that the Men in Black has tried to lock away time travel for no one else to use?
I'm just wondering why you haven't done Steins Gate. You would have fixed so much.
I can't.
He saved one person. You could have saved your entire culture.
Could have saved Pompeii too. You know why I did it? Fixed point in history. There are rules.
Even if it's... No,
Good men don't need rules. Do not make me show you why I have so many.
His rule book is about that thick. At least ours ain't. We get about like that and we still break the rules. If we have to, we'll neuralize the whole town.
Do you know how many aliens walk among you right now? Thanks to these guys. They help them cross these borders and become citizens of your planet.
And in most cases, they don't commit crimes, except Player Nero, which that was sort of really messed up. But in the same instance.
Any other time travelers you know? Yes. In the back with the ears.
Bill S. Preston and Theodore Logan.
Oh! Brilliant! The biggest mess up MIB has ever had to fix.
It's a police box. They use the phone booth. That's what messed up.
They stole your TARDIS. They're the one that broke the chameleon chip. And we're the ones that told them where it was.
Yes.
That nice little big thing that you saw in the movie, who do you think that was? That was the Parliament we've got in order. That's where our orders come down from. So in that whole scenario, he went to MIB headquarters. And we're like, yeah, you ain't supposed to be here. And that's why we sort of was like, yeah, cool.
Never mind, he already said it earlier.
Yes.
Jimmy Neutron.
Yeah, beat that.
All I gotta say about that whole freaking snafu, and that's a snafu, Peabody and Sherman. The exact same snafu. Talking dog my butt.
I like mechanical.
You were a talking dog?
Did you ever think that Mr. Peabody, because of the bow tie, being a dog, this, that, and the other, he wasn't just a reincarnation?
Spoilers.
I mean, think about it. Accent, bow tie, glasses.
I know a way that we can skip a lot of nonsense and we can get straight to the point of this trial.
Okay.
Why don't they ask the questions?
Sounds like a good idea. Now, here's what we'll do. Under those circumstances, y'all interrogate the doctor as to when, where, and why he should not be prosecuted, and give us some sort of reasoning as to why you think that he actually did the right thing versus the wrong thing.
Anybody have any? Yes.
What made you go back in time with your other selves to save Gallifrey?
Oh, it's plain and simple. If you had one chance to rewrite every wrong you've ever committed, what would you take? Just one opportunity to go back and say, I can fix everything wrong I've done in 900 years. You wouldn't take it.
I would.
And I'm proud of it. Very proud.
Now you gotta also imagine also that he went and took his entire culture to save them, granted, until he could find a way to fix it.
To quote Patrick Starr, we took Gallifrey and moved it over here.
And the thing about it is he now carries it around in his pocket. The only thing about it is, what is he supposed to do with it? Because it's looping. It's on a continuous loop. Until he can find a way to fix it, it's on a continuous loop.
Question.
So it's J and K. That's going to keep on happening forever and forever and forever.
The thing about it is, when Jay lit through time, he did not leap on his own timeline. He actually jumped from point 1 to point 2. That's the problem. Is that in point 1,
Kay dies, all of them. The thing about it is, when he jumped to point 2, he didn't just jump to point 1, he jumped to point 2. Why? He did it twice. Every single one of those, because of the way that it is not a TARDIS. It's not. It's a Steins Gate type scenario where he went from point 1 to point 2. Meaning that he can fix it in his own timeline, but it's on another whole point in time. Meaning he can actually see himself, he can actually come in contact with himself, he just cannot touch himself.
He intentionally fell off that monolith to restart time and go back to fighting before that.
Right. But if he was in his own timeline, wouldn't that create a time paradox that would literally make it destructive?
Who's on trial now?
But in the same instance, not the whole time.
Any other questions? Anything to add? Yes.
What is your take on breaking through the barrier between parallel universes?
Ah, the whole slider syndrome. Gotta love that.
If you're going to break down the walls, you've got to do it very carefully and leave no cracks. That's where you get Amy Pond syndrome. There was a crack in her wall, it caused her life to be ruined. And not just Amy Pond's life, the entire universe was at risk thanks to one crack in the universe. One. Imagine what you could do if you just blast a hole in it.
Same thing with Bill and Ted. Now you got to think, Bill and Ted in that whole snafu, they went through time. Yes, their own timeline to fix their own timeline in your TARDIS. But in the same instance, even though they fixed it in their own timeline, they did not come in contact with themselves. They didn't even see themselves. So in that's the only way that works. Remember, the Doctor can go through his own timeline, still be in the exact same area, as long as he doesn't come in contact with himself.
Actually, in the movie, they did meet themselves, were like right when they first met Rufus in the Circle K.
Yes, I'm still wondering about that. That's what you call a timey-wimey what the crap. And that makes no sense. Roll up! Because they go and meet themselves, even touch themselves the whole 9 yards, and there's not a paradox. How? Yeah. Here's another one for you. Miranda out of The Gray Man. Actually able to physically stop time. But in the same instance, even though she stops time, in one area, it still moves around the set the other. So technically it's time manipulation, just like Hero does, except Hero is still able to leave without a TARDIS.
It's physiology. Okay. A Time Lord human being should not be able to do anything through the time vortex without some sort of box, machine, ship, something protecting him.
Well, exactly. So how is it that he can break the time continuum?
Like Jack Harkness, who once survived a trip through the time vortex unprotected. Exactly. Hero is an impossible thing.
I will say that much. It does make sense on that whole scenario.
Any more questions you can add? Yes.
How many times did you go through time just so you can get a special lady? Or gal?
Wow.
We're going to be here a while.
Is this under the American of Earth?
This ain't the girl who left through time.
Is this the American judicial
like
system? We're in the United States right now. Is this American judicial system?
Yes.
I plead the fifth.
One question for you, future self.
Yes.
How many times ain't the boneyards, the dicky yard, whatever his name was?
What was that?
You sure that ain't the boneyard, the dicker's yard, whatever his name was?
Any more questions? Yes.
Speaking on the concept of other people who have traveled through time, this might be jumping the shark a little bit, but the show Charm, the Halliwell sisters travel through times, although they use magic.
Technically it's magic, and the thing about it is that's what makes it really questionable in that whole scenario, is that I really don't believe, I mean, as much as MIB studies all this stuff, it's like S.H.I.E.L.D. says, it's not magic, it's science.
Magic
Under
is
those
physics.
circumstances, yes. Same thing with Hero, same thing with all of those guys. Same thing there again with that whole synapses. It's not magic, it's science. But what they're instigating, there again, couldn't it be something like a time portal opening, closing? It sort of makes sense when you look at it that way.
Speaking of time portals, how many times have you went in State Pluto? I saw how quickly she got out of here earlier. What did you do to her?
You got to remember, he travels through space too. Okay. I'm wondering how many times he recruited every single one of them.
So, this one time at Band
Oh! I will say this much: how many times did you have to fight freaking Sailor Moon over that whole timey-wimey wibbly wobbly thing there.
The Sailor Scouts are very simple. Their job is very simple. My job is not simple. My job requires me to go to Earth, Pluto, Gallifrey, Rosicala, Aquarius.
How screwed up is it that Chibi fell in love with her dad?
That's strange. Okay, I got caught on the beach side by my wife while being watched by my wife while my best friend was pregnant with my wife.
Sailor Moon all over, and you wonder where that episode came from?
Yes.
Speaking of meeting others, what's your take on Celebi, the time traveling Pokemon?
Or
Impossible things.
No, Celebi is literally an alien.
Yes.
All Pokemon, I don't care. They say it comes down to Earth. When have you ever seen one? Of course they're aliens. And even worse is, I don't care. Ash lives how long? As a kid? That's not human. That's like the Simpsons. Do you think that the whole area is here on Earth?
Yes.
Speaking of the Simpsons, did you know that Bart Simpson traveled through time?
Yes, and that's why I say that I'm not positive on this, but with the way he acts and everything like this, I wouldn't be surprised if that's Jack not Harkness. It makes sense.
Well, Jack is an impossible thing. Nothing has to make sense of it.
Bart is an impossible thing. Period.
I will tell
He
you,
doesn't make sense.
I knew Jack was an impossible thing long before he ever died and was brought back. I knew he was an impossible thing the moment I found out his pickup line was, Captain Jack Harkness.
What about Clara?
Well,
What about who?
okay.
Clara.
Oh.
Haven't figured it out.
Classified.
Classified. Plead the fifth.
We have a file that thick on her.
Spoilers.
Yeah. We've got a file. There's a reason why. We've got parts of her in Warehouse 13, and I do need parts.
Does anybody have a reason why I should not be prosecuted today?
Yes, we need evidence.
The Winchester brothers will travel through time when you're not on that.
Oh.
Yes, we are. Yes, they are hunted down like a dog. And the thing about it is, you see the problem we've got. I mean, holy mother. The apocalypse, this and the other. Yeah, there's a reason why we're trying to stop it. They're part of it.
Does anybody have a reason I should not be prosecuted today? Yes.
There's still work to be done.
Still work to be
And like
done.
you said before, you saved our asses time and time again.
I saved their asses time. and
We
time
need
again.
evidence to that. Because
Okay,
there
thank
again,
you.
okay, we have a file that thick on the Doctor with every single one of the time travels we know of, but there are a lot we don't know. So in that whole scenario, there is 2 cases right now that are still open that could solve this whole thing. The only thing about it is we have it questionable. Very big questionable.
Yes.
So are you saying since we let Superman save the world so many times and he could just go around the planet back and forth and turn back time?
He's
If
immune
an
to
alien,
everything we
he's an
throw
alien.
at him.
But it's
Yes.
okay for him.
Yes.
But he has saved us how many times and you're prosecuting him now?
We've tried to put him under arrest. When are you going to be able to? We've got kryptonite. Trust me, he's smarter than he looks. Yeah, you're not as smart as you look.
Well,
Yeah, I know. He wears spandex, you wear a bow tie. You have big difference.
yes.
Doctor, if you said planets, how come you couldn't say Krypton?
Oh, good question.
Thank you.
I'm
We
not
saved
supposed to get
one.
involved in wars that are not mine.
You broke your own